RoxaMillion. You're coming in on another segment of RoxaMillion Unleashed. Get a pen, call a friend, but I want you to stay tuned in. My guest today is one of the baddest attorneys on the south side of Chicago. You all probably don't know his name. His name is Attorney Terrence Godbolt. Y'all hear that last name? Godbolt. And as you know, I don't hold anything back. Today we're going to talk about our communities, what we need, and the professionals that are assisting us in getting what we need for our African American and brown families. I want you all to stay tuned in because we're going to talk about what we do when we're living, but we're also going to talk about what we need to do before we die. Oh, y'all heard it right from RoxaMillion. And so I want to welcome to the show today none other than Attorney Terrence Godbolt, and I want him to introduce himself today. Welcome to the show, Attorney Godbolt.
Thank you. Good day.
Yes. Tell our audience a little bit about you and some of the things that you do that you're proud of.
Let's see. I was born on the south side of Schenectady, New York, upstate New York, so I'm not a native to this area, but my wife is a native Chatham.
Chatham?
She's a native of Chatham. And we've been here 30 years.
Oh, wow.
So, though I wasn't raised here, I've been here long enough to know that some streets are east and west and some are north and south. I didn't start out as an attorney. I started out as a computer guy. I was a technical person for a good while, spent time doing computer consulting, went to business school and came out and did business consulting. I always wanted to be an attorney. Thus, in my midlife crisis was going back to law school 25 years ago. I came out, I practiced primarily not criminal law, but business law, transactional, and a whole lot of things folks need to be able to do. RoxaMillion was talking about need and what everyone faces at one time.
Mm-hmm.
The topic today is, as she was saying, what do you do while you're still alive to take care of your affairs, and what do you do to plan for after you once pass away?
Correct.
I've done a presentation a number of times. I used to do it for churches, and I called it What You Need to Know Before You Approach Your Attorney about estate planning.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Because a lot of late night things are people are talking about to do this to avoid probate, do that to avoid probate.
Correct.
Probate is not bad. In fact, it's often appropriate, and different situations, different family circumstances call for one or the other.
Yeah, and I hope today, Attorney Godbolt, that we can get down to the business of and dispel some of the rumors that are out here. I don't know if our people are getting good information. And so today, let's just walk through a few of the things that you do, and let's begin to share our tools. We're going to educate you all today. You know, I hold nothing back. If I've got it, you got it. Mi casa, su casa. So since you all are in my house, now you're going to get the news you can use. Attorney Godbolt does powers of attorney.
As well, when we're talking about estate planning or a planning for who will make decisions for you or be your agent when you are not able to, you can set up powers of attorney. That is, there are two kinds, one for your health care and medical related needs, and the other for your financial. That's called power of attorney for property. Property broadly means your financial affairs.
Correct.
Okay? When you're competent, you can appoint your own agent. If you're not competent and someone needs to help you with your affairs, then you go from powers of attorney to guardianship, which is court supervised.
Correct. And for those of you who might not be cued into the language, this is where When you're living in a day like we have a lot of stuff, we have a lot of family, this stops the family fights. This puts things in its proper perspective. The person who the stuff belongs to, let me make it real plain. The person who the stuff belongs to has the opportunity to say how they want their affairs handled when they are no longer here. Now, because we are not attorneys, right? We might be toy attorneys or YouTube attorneys. I would suggest he's an excellent attorney. These are the professionals God has given us the resources to be able to call. He's locally in our neighborhoods. He's in Homewood. He's downtown. He's accessible to us. Even for consultations, if you're not sure of what you need to be doing. But I admonish those people who think they know it all. That is why we have attorneys. This is their profession. They are here to know more than you. And sometimes we have to yield to their expertise. I do it all the time. He's my attorney as well. And so even in that state, we have a lot of African Americans who are afraid of attorneys and think that, all of our attorneys, are there to take money from us and they're there to beat us out of, this, that, and the third. Can you talk about when you do the power of attorneys and the guardianship, how that lines things up to dispel all of the nonsense about what attorneys really do?
Now, she hit two very important points, and I'll just mention the third because we will get on with it 10 or 15 minutes from now. This is who is going to be making decisions on your behalf. If you appoint a power of attorney, then you choose the person that's going to be making decisions on your behalf. Power of attorney for health care, if there's someone that knows a little more about the health care system, you may want to choose them. Power of attorney for property, someone who knows a little more about business, perhaps, you may want to choose them. Often, it's the same person. Often, powers of attorney go to the same person. When you're no longer competent, and you're talking about guardianship, once again, power of attorney for health care turns into guardianship of the person. Health care related and residential, where you're going to live.
Now, here's something that is very unique in our communities, is that although I'm doing this show, although I am educating our people, they are still going to wait until grandmother or mother is in the hospital and one of the chaplains or one of the social workers come to the bed and says, do you have a power of attorney? Can we assist you in that area? Attorney Godbolt, from your experience, what should be the right response? Because that is a time that we're not really in thought. We're not, we're in feeling more than we are in, is this the right thing to do? What say you about the response in the hospital at the time that the person is unable to or incompetent, and the medical staff or the social working staff are approaching you? What do you say we should do?
First and most importantly, power of attorney, usually the hospital or the healthcare facility will want you to execute one before you can speak on someone else's behalf. There are other laws having to do with who in the family will step in on the family relationship. The power of attorney, the person, the principal, yourself, appoints who you want to speak for you. So that's important, and you should do it before it comes up. Two reasons. One, a power of attorney will cost you about that much. Guardianship will cost you about that much.
Say that.
Huh? Power of attorney, you don't report to the court. Guardianship, you're under court supervision. Now, it's certainly necessary to help our relatives, our friends, if they can no longer operate in their own best interest. But if you think ahead just a little bit, not fixative and not getting around to it, but do it now while everything's calm and easy and there's no rush to it, take care of your powers of attorney for health care and for property.
And here you hear it from me. I haven't been on this planet this long not to tell you the truth. When you come to RoxaMillion, I'm going to give it to you straight. These are lessons we've learned along the way. Hear from me. You're either going to learn this lesson as Attorney Godbolt. It's giving you the information you need, or you're going to buy it. And sometimes a bought lesson is still a taught lesson. And I'm trying to defer many of you having to buy a very, very expensive lesson. So get a pen, call a friend. You all stay tuned in. We're going to talk a little bit about living wills. The attorney is expert in this area. And many of you are not taking the time while your loved ones are here to establish living wills. How important is a living will today, Attorney Godbolt?
A living will mixes well or follows well with powers of attorney. Powers of attorney for health care include the same provisions that are in a living will. A living will sounds like it has to do with your stuff. A living will has to do with the decisions you want made by your healthcare providers. Do not resuscitate. Hold on to me as long as you can. Sell the house, use all the insurance. Third choice, if my people think that I'm going to recover to a reasonably fulfilling life, hold on. Otherwise, I've had my fun. Let me go. Now, those are the decisions that a living will puts out. Also, as part of a healthcare power of attorney, those are some of the decisions that you decide with and you tell your agent, you discuss with your agent how you want that to be. Normally, what you write is what goes. In this case, you and your agent may have discussed something since you did the writing. So you're putting this person in charge, and they can override the power of attorney when it comes to this very limited subject.
And everybody needs to know how to navigate once things happen. And that is so important right now that we live in a time, you're talking to Attorney Terrence Godbolt. We live in a time that we don't have the access to a lot of attorneys, and especially good-looking black attorneys, that will take the time to come out and educate us. I want you all to pay attention to the information at the bottom of the screen. We have information where you can get in contact with Attorney Godbolt if you feel that the services that we're talking about are services you're going to need or you need right now.
One other point, if you will, before we move on. If you appoint an agent as your power of attorney, and you're not satisfied with the way they're handling it, you can fire them.
Did you hear that?
Okay.
Because I have had,
replace them.
yes, and I have had so many people, and I'm not gonna say nobody's name, right? Tell me about, like, there's only one person in our community that does this, that, and the other. No, that's advertisement. There are plenty other competent, well-equipped attorneys. And when they don't do you right, or you think it's a scam, or whatever the conversation comes out to be, there comes Attorney Godbolt. Y'all hear what I'm saying? You have options in this thing, and he just said you can hire and you can fire. That's a lot of authority.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
a lot of authority, but we've got to walk in authority. And I'm not trying to be biblical, but the Lord put it on my heart to say our people perish for a lack of knowledge. So today we're getting you the news that you can use. We're giving you the business. Guess what? We are 1, 2, 3 in this thing for you. So get a pen. Take some notes, call a friend, because you guys are going to have to tune back in to figure out how to get to Attorney Terrence Godbolt. Let's move on to talk about the basic structures. I don't know what services people can engage you for. You mentioned that you do basic will structures. So is that something that while people are living, they should come and see you about?
Well, absolutely. So far, we've been talking about decisions while you're alive, either you appointing them or someone coming in and asking the court for the authority to look after you. Once you pass away, those authorities expire immediately with you, and then you go on to who's to take care of the affairs of my estate once I've passed. Testate. I've got a will. I made the decisions. Intestate. I don't have a will. When I ask people, do you have a will? Few of them raise their hands. And I say, no. The question I asked you is, do you have a will? The question you answered was, did you write your will?
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Okay?
That's
Because the legislature has written a will for you.
Hmm.
But the one you write overrides that one.
Correct.
So if you want your affairs to be handled the way you want them to be handled, write your own will.
And
If you want them to be handled the way the legislature says to do it, and not that it's unfair, but it's just level. Let's say you have 5 children.
mhm.
One of them has a PhD, and the other one has 5 children of their own. At Christmas, you love them equally, but you probably take care of the one that's in a little more of a need circumstance than the other one. Under the law as it's written, your will as it's written by the legislature, they're even.
Wow.
Yourself, you might say, yes, I love you, baby, but you don't need anything. Take this $2,500, go to Vegas for the weekend and remember me.
Right.
The other one, you might say, okay, I'm going to put a little something away for my grandbabies,
Right.
to help them through school, to give you a little something to help you feed them, to
Right.
help you clothe them.
Mhm.
You love them equally,
That's
but
good.
you would handle your family affairs a little bit differently.
Yes.
So in your will, you decide who it is you trust to carry out the instructions that you leave, and it's very clear. You tell them what you want done with your stuff.
Right. And here we're in a time where there is this is just trust. This is just a bad dude that's on the street. Every time we say his name, I think every black person on looking today cringes. He's called probate. When you say Mr. Probate in a black community, it's like a light's coming on in a house and the roaches clear the room. When we say probate, I don't know why we have such a high level of fear about that, but I want it to come from you because somehow you're the baddest attorney on this set and you ain't scared of Mr. Probate. Can you talk a little bit about what that system really does in a positive way?
Probate could well be a friend of yours, okay? Whether you have a will or not. You have to go through probate to have the will put into power. Until you probate the will, it's just a bookmark, it's just a piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
You need the authority that the will gives you
Mm-hmm.
to be given by the court. Why? Because the bank is not going to take the will and say, well, she said she wants this to happen.
No.
The bank is going to take the judge's order that says the judge stands behind
This person.
this person having the authority to step into the shoes of, to take care of all of the business of the recently deceased person, so they can take care of everything. The will itself is not sufficient. We'll talk about trust in a second,
Right.
okay? Wills are about your personal stuff.
Yes.
I always think that wills take care of things that you can handle within a year or so.
Okay.
Trusts are longer term sorts of things, and we'll get back to that in a second. But in your will, you may say, my former workmate, I always enjoyed this young lady, and she loved this brooch.
Yes.
So I'm going to leave her this brooch.
Yes.
I'm not taking anything away from my children,
Sure.
my relatives,
Sure.
my in-laws, but my good friend from work always liked this brooch. She always liked this jacket.
Yes.
So I'm going to leave that to her just in remembrance of me.
Yeah, and see here is the other thing, and I know this probably won't be the piece you want to address, but having gone through it, the banks are not your friends. You know, they're covering their behind when it comes to the transition of life. And so even if you have not left things in order at the bank, they try to override the attorneys, you know, and I just want you, having already gone through it, I just want you to know that it is important. We as a people need to have our houses in order. not just clean, not just paid for, but in legal order, so that when we transition, we still have the authority of how we want things to go.
I often tell people, just because you fill a fire extinguisher doesn't mean a fire's coming.
Come on.
It means
Come
you're
on.
ready
Yes.
if a fire breaks out. So, do your thinking. Think forward on your final Christmas, the last gifts you're going to give out, and the affairs to be run the way you want them to be run. You can always change it. But it's great to have something to work with rather than, oh, let's see, what did I think and what did I tell her? What did I tell him? It's on paper,
Yes.
It's clear.
Yes. And for my younger people, I have the sauce. I got one of the big bosses here. And I want to spill the tea. There is never, it's not a certain age that you can have your house in order. Many of you young people are coming into wealth a lot sooner than many of us have. And I want you to begin to prepare for your children and your children's children. Don't leave that responsibility on remaining family. Sometimes you'll be disappointed to figure out how some of this might play out. So for you younger people, I am talking to you as well. If you have a decent salary, right? You have a 401k, you have money saved in the bank, you have children, you have a wife, you have a husband, you even leave your parents here. This is the time to try to find Attorney Godbolt. Sit down, have a conversation, if not a consultation, and begin to put your family's affairs in order.
Unfortunately, or let's just say the reality of it is, we as a people, we as a community have not really thought these things through. Traditionally, especially our folks, where's the next month rents come from?
Yes.
How am I going to put food on the table?
Yes.
We're not thinking 2, 3, 5, 10 years out. These days, a lot of us have that ability and have something to work with. The other side of the fence, even back when,
Yes.
they were talking about this around the breakfast table.
Yes.
Because they weren't worried about next month's rent.
Exactly.
But we have to just plan forward. So it's not something you might be comfortable discussing, but be comfortable discussing.
Exactly, because
It is
it's
your
life.
future.
It's
It's
your
your
life.
life.
Yes.
It's your belongings.
Exactly.
You're in control of your assets and the future of your family. You've worked hard for it. Let it go. Let it be the way you want it to be.
You're tuned in to RoxaMillion Unleashed, and I'm bringing you one of the baddest attorneys on the south side of Chicago. It doesn't get any better than Attorney Godbolt. I'm going to get in trouble for that, but that's okay. I want you all to
One of
meet
many
this man
things.
on his territory. I want you to look at the screen, get his information, give him a call, tell him you heard him on RoxaMillion Unleashed, and begin to do your estate planning. I, too, have had to use an attorney to get things straightened out. I want to say this to you personally, especially those of you who all have siblings. You may discuss one thing while a person is alive and everybody goes along with it, but when that transition happens, I don't know, there is something called Negro amnesia that happens, and if it is not legally documented somewhere, the intent of the person now is in the balance. And so that's what I always tell people about God. He has favor on the field, and many times attorneys like Attorney Godbolt keeps the playing field even because they know the intent. They know what was sure to happen, but they knew how you wanted to call it out. And that is an extra layer of protection. If you all can put Ring cameras on your houses, if you all can put ADT in your homes to protect your property, why would you not protect your families? Here's another thing that I'm just going to say on RoxaMillion Unleashed. Most preachers won't say it. I'm sick of passing hats at funerals. People are not benevolent anymore. They're not giving. And what the attorney was talking about, how do you pay your next month's rent? How do you pay for the casket to move out of that funeral home? These are things that if you haven't prepared and taken care of prior to, We don't have these kind of problems. The preacher does not have to help the family financially pay for the funeral director to take that casket out the church. I'm telling you the kind of problems that we're running into. And we don't have to. If you can buy $600 worth of hair, if you can buy Gucci and Louis Vuitton, if you can buy Prada and Michael Kors, I'm telling you, an attorney expertise is much less than what you're spending on things that don't mean a hill of beans. You're going to leave all that stuff behind. At least leave it behind with a sense of intelligence that you've worked with a professional that has your house in order, has your children in order, and has your best intent for your family in place. That's the best I can do.
2 quick points. Negro amnesia. I smile because I often call it Negro feces when these things start to come up.
Yes.
Okay.
Speak to it.
And probate, with a will or without a will, typically having a will cost you less than going in there without a will.
Correct.
In administrative proceedings. So it's like, give me 25 cents now or give me $1.50 later.
Yes.
And my daughter's got enough shoes.
And see, that's the greatest segue into the probate process. I want to talk to you, attorney, because you are like the baddest kid out here. When I say that, I mean it from my heart. Is that not only do you know the process, but you're an educator. I didn't know nothing. I came in here blind, and you I think I want to be an attorney. You know what? You took me to a place where I understand things that were a little more complicated for me in a very simple way. This is why I would refer Attorney Godbolt to you, because he doesn't leave you in limbo, wondering what the process is. He explains it, and then he walks you through. He's like that big brother I've never had, And so in this kind of process, we as African Americans need someone more skilled than us to navigate us through this legal system. Probate freaks you all out, court freaks you all out, and attorneys freak you all out. Stop being freaked out. Start being financially prepared for the next level of life. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Mr. Probate process.
Now, the probate process, the good parts of it are, one, it limits the time that someone can file a claim against the estate. Here's an example. When you start the probate process, it's got to stay open 181 days, 6 months and a day. If you can get the affairs handled, which you often can, in 6 months and a day, you close the probate process, and any other claims that come in against the estate are disallowed because the business is over. The circus has left town.
Yes.
What other claims can come in? Late hospital bills.
Yes.
Even Medicare bills. If they don't hit the 6-month cutoff, they're dismissed. If you don't start the probate process and go through it, there's a 2-year,
Wow.
4 times
Wow.
the amount of time that claims are allowed. For that reason alone, and often we're talking about administrative processes from not only the government but the hospitals and getting claims filed and this sort of thing. If you beat them to the punch and run off, that resource stays in the estate, as opposed to having someone put a claim on it in court and then have to argue about why you are responsible for it or not.
Right.
It doesn't take hold. It goes away. That reason alone is enough to go through probate, get it done. If you haven't done it yet, well, mom died in 19 and we're still trying to handle some stuff. There are certain things you still cannot handle, the
Right.
transfer of property, maybe
Yes.
getting to the bank,
Yes.
unless you go to probate.
Yeah, and here, he's touching on a very sensitive spot for many of us African Americans, and I want to share this with you. Most of our young people are just coming into being first-time homeowners, or there has been a transition where grandmother has left property. you all don't know what a friend you have in Attorney Godbolt in this. We want, as African Americans, to keep our real estate. You know, we want to make sure that we don't continue this legacy that your grandmother and your mother and your parents have paid the price to make sure they give you a home with no mortgages. All you have to do is pay taxes. And you guys lose these homes in taxes. You lose these homes for non-payment. And you lose these homes because you don't know the legal system. You haven't transferred the deeds properly. And you have no authority over the house. Someone can come in and put you out of a house that was left as a legacy to your family. So I'm going to yield and let Attorney Godbolt kind of deal with this.
Just one illustrative example here. Mother and father passed. Sister and son and brother, son and daughter lived with the house, just kept paying for it, paid it off, okay, but never changed the deed structure, okay? Mom and pop wanted the house to go to their children, but they never put it in their children's names. So, sister gets married to a gentleman, fine gentleman. The gentleman had 2 daughters, okay? The sister passes away.
Wow.
Her half of the house goes to her husband. Husband passes away. Her half of the house goes to her daughters.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with her daughters.
Right.
But mother and father originally wanted the house to go to their children.
Yes.
So now their son owns half, and these 2 well-intended young ladies who are the daughters of the sister's husband, who is now deceased, own the other half of the house. All you have to do is keep up with your affairs. Mom and dad pass, you pass it to the 2 of them, okay? You pass it to the 2 of them. When she passes, her half goes to her brother, not her husband.
You get it.
Thus, her kids. No harm intended there, but that's not the intended consequence. Keep up with your property, keep up with your affairs. It's not expensive to do, but as you can tell just from that example, it can be
Excellent
quite
example.
unfortunate.
Y'all might have to rewind that and look at that one more time. I just love the dynamo that we have, the diamond in the rough that we have in our own community, and Attorney Godbolt and many of the associate attorneys that are with him. We talk about charitable giving, and I wanted you to just kind of tiptoe into that and talk about the charitable giving aspect of things.
Before that, if I may, we
Yes.
have not talked on trusts
Okay.
yet.
Okay.
Okay, now, trust.
Rewind. We're going to talk about the trust.
Yeah, as I was saying, the will takes care of things you can handle within a year, typically.
Okay.
A trust is for matters that might take longer than a year.
Yes.
For instance, there's a family business, and you want to run the business longer than the people are alive. So you want to manage it and perhaps hand it off eventually to some people, but you want to stay involved in it. That'll take more than a year. So you put the business in trust, and then it has a new management structure. It's no longer part of the estate, and it has nothing to do with the will or probate. Put everything in a trust. That'll avoid probate. In that sort of circumstance, it will.
And
We have a second property in Union Pier. There are 5 kids. We want all of our kids to enjoy the house. Put the house in trust. It's no longer in probate. The trust is like a little bitty company. It owns the house, and you appoint who you want the trustee to be.
correct.
In this case, it's a revolving trustee. One of the 5 kids takes it for every 3 years. That way they stay responsible to each other, and they know they're going to have to answer to each other, and they all have to agree to sell the property and then divide the money, but it's no longer in the estate. And obviously, it's something that's going to trail on for a number of years.
And-
Third example
Go
for
ahead.
a trust.
Sorry.
There's a special needs person that might need some further support.
Yes, after you're gone.
Your grandson, your granddaughter, your niece, your nephew, perhaps your mother or father, okay? Their care, their need is going to be ongoing. If you establish a trust for them, appoint a trustee, someone that you're
That's an
comfortable
aha moment right there.
handling their affairs,
Yes,
taking good care of them,
yes.
that's no longer in probate. That's not part of the probate process. That's some future planning
Yes.
that you've done in a trust environment. So that's kind of the difference. Less than a year, I can handle it. Something that's ongoing typically is a way of handling a trust. It gets more involved in that perhaps. The point here being that each family situation, each personal situation is unique. So you need to talk to someone who can help you come to the right decisions about it. Charitable giving.
Yeah, no, I want you to put a pin there because many times I will offer a reference and a referral. We are not just going to see Attorney Godbolt here on RoxaMillion Unleashed. For those who are in the Underground Network group, we are going to have him come out and talk to you business owners, small and startup business owners, about things you need to be paying attention to. So this will not be the last time that you see the brother from the other mother. I just adopt the man. He's part of the family now. And I want you all to be savvy. We are moving in a time where that we're investing a whole lot in ourselves, in our businesses, and in our family. And the one thing about a banker that's sure and sure enough is that he wants the return on the investment. This is how you get the return. Didn't I tell you I give you the keys to unlock the door? You can't come in without an attorney somewhere. I don't care who you are and what you do. They're necessary, and we need to begin to embrace the profession and embrace the professionals because they are here to aid us at our time of need. And we have to begin, he just got through talking about it, trust. We got to begin to trust them. So as we wind down, you know, I always have more talk than I have time. We're going to run through talking about charitable giving, and we'll end just a little excerpt on transfer of debt. I'm going to yield to the attorney to talk about charitable giving for a minute. We've got about 5 on the table.
Just briefly, in your charitable giving, there are tax benefits to charitable giving. There are certain institutions, be it your sorority, your fraternity, your church, the animal welfare group, the boys club, the girls club, that you want to recognize, acknowledge, just like in your will. You want to leave a little something for organizations, people that are doing what you like done, so they can remember you, and there's all sorts of levels you can do it at. You can leave them a few dollars if you're in a position, you can leave them a scholarship, there's all sorts of things you can do, but it's often beneficial to your tax planning to remember and support the organizations, the charities, if you will, the churches, if you will, that you're involved in and you believe in. Leave them a little something if that's the sort of statement you want.
Right.
If
And
you
I
want to be remembered
don't want
that
you
way.
guys coming to me anymore and talking about you're leaving things to stuffed animals and dogs. I think you have to really be more responsible about your life's work. And so that is one point. The other point that I've suffered with, and I'm so glad you're here, is people who don't like their kids and their kids don't like them. And they get to a point that they don't want to lead their kids, or the kids have been, just disrespectful and out of control. They need your expertise on the best ways to lead their estate without the people that they didn't want that estate to be in their hands.
3 or 4 sentences. Intestate. If the legislature wrote your will, all your kids share and share alike. If you write your will, this one doesn't need it, this one is a knucklehead, this one's going to do whatever they're going to do with it, so I'm not leaving them anything. You can, these are my heirs. The will is meant to address these heirs and disregard these heirs. That way it's clear. It's yours, you leave it the way you want to leave it, rather than what the legislature says you have to do. Well, I haven't seen him in 16 years, and my daughter's over here taking care of me every day. If you write a will, you recognize that. If you don't, they split it.
Right, and so we end this segment on that transfer of death, because when it happens, I mean, you got sisters and brothers that come out the woodwork. They come off of Ancestry.com. I mean, it's just a lot at a vulnerable emotional time. And that is not the best time to be making life decisions. That's not a good time to be making critical decisions. And if you already have Attorney Godbolt in your pocket, those are decisions he can help you to make. This is RoxaMillion Unleashed, and we have more talk than we have time, but I'm going to have to sign out here. Get a pen, call a friend. We have Attorney Godbolt's information at the bottom of the screen. Feel free to tell him that you heard it from RoxaMillion Unleashed, and I referred you. I'm signing out saying I love you, I bless you, and until the next segment, I appreciate you.
Thank you.